how would you describe in one word? I'm going to call on some of you guys. How would you describe the current market? Mike Sampson, what do you think? One word. How would you describe it?
Shifting.
Say it again.
Shifting.
Shifting. I love that. That's a great word. Kelly, what would you say? You're on mute.
Interesting.
Interesting. I love that. Jody, one word.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Fantastic. Tim Laidler, what would you say?
Mhm.
Oh, Tim's.
Too many listings are not selling up here in Canada.
That's right. A lot of listings, right? Well, there's my friend Ray Mayhorn. Oh my gosh. Beautiful Miss Ray down in South Texas, down in Killeen, Texas. Ray, give me one word that would describe the market.
Growing.
Growing. That's a great attitude. So let's face it, guys, the market is a little bit different than it was a year ago. It's a little bit different than it was 2 years ago. It's a little bit different, definitely 3 years ago and 4 years ago. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we know is the market never stays the same, but some of us get paralyzed every time we see a shift. Every time something changes, we don't know how to respond. So what we're going to talk about today is how to succeed and really make more money and become more profitable in this market. Some of you may think that this is a buyer's market. Who would think, oh my gosh, this is a buyer's market? Right now the market's crashing. Who would say that? Okay, so let's talk about what that means. If the days on market, if the month supply of inventory is less than 3 months, we're in a seller's market. If it's 3 to 9 months, you're in what's called a normal market. If your month supply of inventory is more than 9 months, you are in a buyer's market. But here's the good news. It doesn't matter what market that you're in, what's happening with the market, because people make money in every single market. Whether it's a great market, seller's market, buyer's market, it's all a matter of our perspective. So agents are winning every single day. So I'm going to share with you several different thoughts. I've got like 6 topics to go over today. Hopefully we'll be able to fit all of them in. So the first thing I want you to write down is you have to know your market better than anyone in the marketplace.
Mhm.
You have to be an expert in the stats. And you have to be able to communicate that in a compelling way where there's a balance of honesty with optimism. Because look, it's hard to turn on the news. I don't know about you guys, but I turn on the news and some of the stories are depressing. And that's what our buyers and our sellers are seeing, right? The buyers are saying, oh my gosh, it's a buyer's market. I should be able to get a great deal. Some sellers still think it's 2022, but a lot of them are already starting to sense that this may not be a good time to sell. So we have to deliver this information in a way that causes them not to think they can't sell, that causes those buyers to believe that this is a good time for them to purchase. So your confidence comes from you knowing the facts. Write that down. Your confidence in delivering this comes from you knowing the facts. So here's what you need to do is you need to study your MLS every single day, every day. I look at mine every day, what's happened today. I usually go back a week and I go back a month. And I'm studying the following things. I'm looking at how many new listings have come on the market in that period of time. I'm looking at how many expireds we had, how many price reductions, and how many closed, because that's going to tell me a story. Now, I look at it every day, but I really like to look at the past 30 days because it gives me a snapshot. So I'm going to share with you what mine said this morning. and how I am looking at this. So this morning, in the past 30 days, we had four, and this isn't the whole, I live in Little Rock, Arkansas. This is the part of the city that I work, because I don't work parts of the city. I'm very strategic in the area that I work. So in the areas that I work, we had 498 new listings come on the market. We had 130 expired. We had 414 price reductions and 335 closed. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me a lot. It tells me there's a lot of price reductions that are out there, that virtually we're getting dozens and dozens of price reductions every single day. It's also telling me that when my mind tells me there's no expireds, that's not true, because over 30 days, there's been 130 properties that have expired. And it also tells me that my supply is going up and demand is going down. And where I'm seeing that is I've had more new listings come on the market than I have closed sales. So very quickly, I can get a sense of what's happening with the market. So study the MLS and begin to track this information. Because remember earlier when I said you've got to be able to communicate this in a way that is honest and optimistic. So if you don't know the numbers, you can't communicate that. So what I'm going to suggest is that you have an elevator pitch. And I'm going to show you mine that I wrote this morning. And hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, so this is an example of the stats that I've just got kind of going around in my mind right now. Just the facts for June 2025. And this is an overview of what's happening in the market right now. So wherever I am, this is what I'm talking about. I'm pulling bullets out of this so that when someone says, how's the market? I can say more than, oh, it's great. I can say, you know what? The average price is slightly down over the past year. Nationally, we're seeing a 2 to 3% correction. Now, in my market, I know this. In my market, we're predicted to go up by 3%. That's what we're predicting. And then the mortgage rates are fixed. Here's what's happening with inventory. So you see the power of this, guys? Now, anywhere I go, I have something to talk about. When a seller calls and says, why isn't my house selling? I can say to them, well, here's some stats. So have your elevators pitch. I don't know if you guys can see down here at the bottom right-hand side. This is for me. This is no longer a speed market, it's a skills market. Now, this is to help my mindset. It's a skills market. Pricing matters, condition matters, communication skills matter, negotiating skills matter, the agent that you choose matters. Now, why that's important is that's my mindset. And that's how I'm, as an agent, how I have to live my life right now. Because whatever I'm thinking inside, that's what people are going to believe. So you've got to determine what you believe. The other thing that you need to get into a habit of, and I'm going to share this with you too, your social media posts. Post about the market. Look for different sources to post interesting information. This came from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And it's fred.stlouisfed.org. And they've got tons of these guys. If you look down here, they have charts based on the data that you can post and download. You can put these in your listing package. You can put them on your website. This one particularly talks about the active listings count in the United States. So this is going back a year. This is a great representation of what's happening with the market. A year ago, we had 734,000 homes on the market. And today we're topping about 1 million based on what the Fed is saying. Now check this out. I thought this was interesting. This is 5 years. So 5 years ago, we were in COVID, right? So look at where the inventory was right before COVID, the COVID boom started, and look at where it was, look at where it is today. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this, from 5 years ago until today, that was kind of an anomaly. what was happening in the market we had never seen before. So if you want to know what kind of market it is, you got to go back to 2019, early part of 2020, and we're essentially in the same kind of market. Do you guys find that as fascinating as I do? What happened at the low point in 2022 in January before the rates started going up, that doesn't have any bearing today because February 2022 was the lowest point it had ever been, ever. So this information is power. So check that site out. I think you guys will really like that, and it'll help you with an understanding of what is happening with the market. So know the stats, know the impact of supply and demand. So it's very common when you look at your CMAs today, are your market analysis accurate currently? No, they're not. The prices that you're seeing on most of your CMAs are not representative of what's actually happening in the market because it's old data. It's data from 3 months ago, 6 months ago. So learn how to pull your supply and demand. Learn how to look at how many homes are on the market versus how many are selling each month. And that can help you determine how aggressive you need to be in pricing. So if you want to really thrive in this market, it starts with understanding the facts because it's going to put you as the expert and it's going to protect your mindset. All right, second point, write this down. Double down on taking listings. Double down on taking listings. How you control your business and the market is through taking listings. Now, we've got our good friend Tim Laidler who's here, and he is in Vancouver, and they have a lot of listings right now. And I've been in markets like that before. They've got probably more listings than they've ever had on the market anywhere. And the tendency is when we get into that situation, guys, we start to gravitate towards the buyers because in our mind we think, well, the buyers, that's more of a sure thing. That's not true. It's still a listing game. Not every listing is going to sell, but if you know your numbers and you understand the supply and demand and your absorption rate, you'll begin to understand how many listings you need to have in your inventory to meet your goals. So your number one job is still to go take listings. You have to talk to sellers every single day. And if you don't have inventory, you don't have power. Now, prospecting, would you guys agree that prospecting has changed a bit in the past? Who's been prospecting for more than 10 years? Well, I'm going to tell you, when I first started prospecting, people actually answered their phones. Every year we see less and less people answering their phones, don't we? So you have to look for other sources and you have to be a bit smarter with your prospecting. So be strategic. Do things like, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. First of all, you should be talking to absolutely every seller in your database. Every buyer that bought one of your listings, even if they're not in your database, you should be talking to them and adopt them and make them part of your center of influence. We need to be talking to people that are already aware of us. Number two, you should be looking for people that bought their homes prior to 2022 and 2021. So go into Fellow. If you have Fellow, it's a great source because you can filter that information down into people that are in your database that fit into that criteria. Or if you have Property Radar, which is another piece of technology, you can search out properties where the people have owned their homes for more than however many years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. You can look for people that have a lot of equity. So be more strategic with who you're calling. If you haven't already done this, you need to be looking at probates and divorces, because guess who actually still sells in a market like this one? People that have property that they need to dispose of because a loved one has passed away or they're getting a divorce. So check into all the leads. or develop a strategic part of your database that are attorneys that handle that type of business. So in a time where fewer and fewer people are answering their phone, gravitate towards these listings that actually will answer their phone because we know they're warmer. Is everybody, does that make sense? Because
Quick question, not to cut you off here.
no, I love it. Go ahead, Chris.
So when you were saying to pull the list of everybody that's, sold prior to, I think you said 2022,
Mhm.
what's the does that mean that they have a higher rate, or what was the kind of the
They
rationale?
could have a higher rate, but if they bought in 2022, to be perfectly honest, they're probably not going to be able to sell today. Because that the values were high in 20, we haven't had real appreciation since 2022. Not to age myself, but I've been through a few bad markets, and I've been to markets where people were upside down by 50% of their what the original price was, where we've lost 50%. So when you get into those situations, you have to look for people that can afford to sell. And somebody that's sold in 2023 probably can't sell right now.
One of the areas, it's the reason I asked that question is on my call with Steve today. One of the things we talked about was move up buyers.
Mhm.
I'm targeting with my batch leads, people that have children that live in a house less than 2,000 square feet. And so I like what you just told me to add to my criterion, because people will give up their rates for schools.
They will.
I've seen that. So
They absolutely will. And people with a lot of equity, if you pull those lists as well, they're not tied to those interest rates because they have a lot of equity.
Correct.
It's not that big of a deal. All right, so let's talk about expireds and for sale by owners. And I did a call a while ago or I've coached on this about the hierarchy of the different types of prospecting. And we know that expireds and for sale by owners are still the two top hottest types of prospecting. But guys and gals, to list those properties today, you have to go above and beyond. You can't just call them 3 or 4 times a day and expect to get them on the telephone. That's the old way of doing things. Write this down. Winners have to be willing to do the things that others aren't. If you want to win that expired, you need to get into your car and drive over there at 5:30, 6 o'clock, knock on their door, do the same thing with your for sale by owners. And if you can't catch them during the week, Saturday morning, you need to be knocking on their door. Sunday night, you need to be knocking on the door of the for sale by owner. You have to go above and beyond if you want to take listings in this marketplace. Everyone else is still doing the same thing. We want you guys to thrive in this marketplace. So listings are still key. Let's write down number 3. You're going to work some buyers. Does everybody get that? You will work buyers in this marketplace. And in the crash, we worked buyers. We took listings, but we made up the difference with buyers. Just like we did. You remember during the boom, did some of us work a lot of buyers during the boom? Everybody say yes, we all did. You're going to work some buyers. Here's the key. You have to work the right buyers. You have to work the right buyers. The challenge is in a buyer in this marketplace, they will run you ragged. They will burn you out if you work the wrong people. So very quickly, you have to identify, is there real motivation or are they looky-loos? Ask the questions. Are you in a lease or do you have a house to sell? I'm in a lease. When is your lease up? Oh, not till November. If you found the right house, are you willing to break your lease? No, we don't want to do anything until November. Next. I'm not spending time with that buyer. Who are the buyers that I want? I want the buyers that say, yes, I'm going to break my lease. I want the buyer that says, I'm already out of a lease. We want to be in something by the time school starts. Those are the buyers that I want. How about this one? I'm getting a divorce and I have to have a place to live. I want that buyer too. I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm ready to buy now. That's what I want. So I'm not going to say don't work with buyers, work with the right buyers. Get down to the motivation. Here's a great question. What's driving this move? Oh, we're just looking to see if we can find the perfect home. Well, since there is no such thing as a perfect home, you guys need to go deeper on that. And it's okay to not work with a buyer that's not actually going to buy. So still work with buyers, but you have to work the right ones. All right, number 4, daily discipline equals dollars. You cannot operate your business the same way you did 2 years ago. I'm going to repeat. You cannot operate your business the same way you did 2 years ago. And by the way, I want to remind some of you guys thought 2 years ago the market wasn't that great. You know why? Because the market was great in 2020, at the end of 20, all of 21, and the first few months of 2022. So you thought 23 and 24 were bad. They weren't bad. Neither is this. It's just different. It's just a different market. But your discipline has to be better than it's ever been. You can't make money in a market like this one if this is just a hobby. So let's everybody write down. We did a great call on with our clients last week on the 90-day plan. Follow your 90-day plan to a T. Set goals for June, July, and August, whatever those numbers are, how many listings you're going to take, how many buyers how many listings you're going to sell, how many buyers, etc. And do whatever it takes to hit those numbers. If your goal is to take 5 listings this month, you need to figure out how to take 5 listings this month. And it has to be at in your soul that you can't breathe or live unless you hit that number. Because you can't just say, well, yeah, I'd like to hit that number. You won't hit it if it's not going to come to you. You have to work to make that happen. For those of you that I coach, they hear me say this a lot, and write this down. Everything you do is a decision. Kelly Matthews is living. She goes, yep. If you hit your goal this month, that was a decision. If you don't hit your goal this month, that is also a decision. If you didn't have the discipline to follow your schedule, there's no excuse. It's just a fact. I didn't follow my schedule. I got busy. That's not an excuse. That's a fact. But it's a decision that you made. Every decision that you make takes you closer to your goal, or it takes you away from your goal. So stop thinking that you're making decisions or you're making excuses or validations. It's just a decision that you make. You guys know who Dr. Phil is? Of course, everybody knows Dr. Phil. You know, in his first book, he said, you make time for the things that are important to you. You make time for the things that are important to you. So here's what we're going to suggest. You need to work on Saturdays right now, especially through this summer. If you're not already putting in at least a half a day on Saturday, you need to add that to your list. Why? Because we have to do more to get the results that we're looking for. You need to be calling on Sunday evening. Call the for sale by owners on Sunday evening. You need to go to the for sale by owner open houses on Sunday or Saturday if that's appropriate for your market. If you want to take listings, excuse me, get in front of those for sale by owners. Do the things that others aren't willing to do. Oh, but Sydney, I need to spend time with my family. I get that. I have a family. We all have families, right? My family likes to have nice things. And there are sacrifices that we all need to make if we want to continue the lifestyle that we're having, right? So go the extra mile. Prospect a couple of nights a week if necessary. If you're not hitting the goals, it's because you're not talking to enough people. So make the decision that that's not going to happen to you. So the discipline to your schedule and hitting your goals is such a critical factor because all of you are capable of doing whatever it is that you decide that you're going to do. Do you remember when you first got your driver's license? You guys remember that? And you might have been a terrible test taker, but you figured out how to take that written test. Do you guys remember that? Or if you had kids, you're like, well, he's a terrible student, but he made an A on that driving test. That shows you that we do the things that are important to us. It's a decision. So you've got to decide that you're going to follow this schedule, but because your schedule is what's going to make you a lot of money. Next thing, let's talk about prospecting. This business is and will always be a contact sport. Now, if you coach with me, you rarely hear me talk about contacts. I feel like at the level that most of you are at, we shouldn't be talking about you need to make 20 more contacts a day. Would you guys all agree that in our business, we have to talk to people? Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
So what's the combination of who you need to talk to? I mean, have you really thought that through? Are you, and I see this a lot, are you making contacts just for the sake of making contacts? Or are you being more strategic? I mean, just listed, just solds are fine. They're easy to do. But if you find yourself filling your week up with a bunch of just listed, just solds and you're not getting the result, maybe you should rethink what you're doing here. Should you be going to those doors of the expireds and the for sale by owners? How do you get in front of more people? Maybe you're not maybe you're not that type of prospector. I don't think she's on the call today, but I've got one client that she is a social prospector. I'll answer that phone in just a second, Brian. She's a social prospector. She does a lot of events and she gets business from it. So what we have to do with her business is how do we take that, get her in front of more people so that she can take more listings. So whatever it is that you're doing, do more of it so that the odds are with you. So Brian asked me, what about text messages and emails? And I'm going to address that. Sending an email or a text message is, well, let's say text messages. It is a contact today, but Brian, only if they respond. So it's just like when I'm calling, I don't count it as a contact unless I'm talking to a real person, right? So if I don't ask that question, whatever the question is, do they want to set an appointment to look at a property? Would they like me to come out on Thursday night to list their home? That's a contact because I'm in a conversation. Same thing with texting. If you text someone, great, but if they don't text you back, that's not a conversation. So when I'm coaching, I say, if you can get them to, engage with you, yes, that's a contact, because I've done deals where I've literally never talked to the client. I'm only texting. Anybody had that? I had one listing that I personally took that I never, ever talked to the client. Everything was done by text and email. So that is the preferred way of people discussing, but you have to get a response. So Brian, it's the same thing with an email. Send out all the emails that you want to, but if we don't get a response, it doesn't count. So if we are sending a lot of emails that don't get responses, we have to look at that. Same thing with direct mail. Can you get a listing off of direct mail? You can, believe it, guys, you can. It's just going to take a lot of direct mail to get that response, right? So you have to do enough of it to improve your odds. So it's the same thing. I can send out 10,000 pieces. It doesn't matter if I don't get someone to respond to me. So every day, your job is to talk real estate every place that you go. You can prospect at the grocery store. You can prospect at the kids' school, get into real estate conversations. And if you go back to those bullet points, that's your conversation, guys. Someone said social clubs, same thing, social clubs, whatever you need to do to get in front of people, and you can talk real estate. Now, every week you need to be talking to your past clients and your center of influence. Brian says pickleball. Hey, number one sport in the US today. I know I have agents that are picking up a lot of business off the pickleball courts for sure. You should be talking to your past clients every single day. That's still in your center of influence. It's still your best source. They are your advocates. But the challenge is, guys, remember the percentages are you're only going to get a certain percentage of that group that's going to move or send you something, right? So it's a little bit of you get there's a limit to what you're going to get from that turnip, right? It's if you've got 1,000 people and you're getting a certain percentage, that's probably not going to change. So you have to add these other sources if you want to hit your number. So add other sources. You know what the third best type of prospecting is today? You know, you've got expireds for sale by owners. Anybody know what number 3 is? Y'all aren't going to like it because the third best is Zillow or Realtor.com direct connect leads. Or those are the third best. Why? Because someone has taken the time to put information in on the computer that they want to talk to a real estate agents. So if you're not buying leads, maybe you consider it. But you've got your speed to lead is very important because if you can't call them back, let's say you get an UpNest lead or a HomeLight lead, if you can't call them back in 5 minutes or less, you're probably not going to get them. So that's prospecting too, guys. That's how the game has changed, is you've got all these companies that will provide you with leads, but you have to work them aggressively. So 5 minutes on any new lead that comes in. And then let's write this down. Your job is to set 1 appointment a day. And I will say for my really heavy listers, that should be listing appointments. For those of you, you know, that maybe only 60% of your business comes from listing, that could be a qualified buyer appointment as well. If you set 1 appointment a day, regardless of what it was, and you went out on 3 a week, how many houses do you think you would sell a year? Anybody know?
We got 3.
You'd probably sell at least 50 houses at minimum. Probably, you're right. You'd probably do 100 if you were really good. If you went on 3 appointments and you took 2 listings a week, that's 100 deals a year.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's for someone like Brian or Chris or some of you that are really, really good. If you don't have that skill, that number might be lower. But set 1 appointment a day. All right, the last thing that I want to address is the mindset. And this is probably, I've put this on last because I think it's probably the most important part of this. So your actions are important, but the way that you are thinking about things really is controlling everything. Would you guys agree with that? Mindset and the way you're approaching your daily life is really determining what the outcome is. So the first thing I wrote down is your mindset is what is driving the consistency of these production items that we discussed. Your mindset drives the consistency. I coach a wonderful agent in Connecticut. Her name is Kelly Vanacore. I don't know if she's on the call right now, but we had a great coaching call. She's taking like a listing a week right now, and she's busy. She is doing the work. She's busy, and she's an individual agent. And so I'm coaching her through that. And we had this discussion, and she said, "Yeah, I got on the phone this week, and I thought to myself, God, I don't want to be doing that." Anybody else feel like that? They're on the phone going through the motions, and she thought, I don't want to do this. And I said to her, I said, you control this. If your mind's not right, what's the point of being on the phone? You get to decide. So she made up her mind that she was going to shift the way she was looking at that activity. And because of that, she got the results. Now, unless you have some sort of a chemical imbalance, guys, you control your thoughts and feelings. I'm assuming we are all adults. Babies can't control their emotions, their thoughts, and their feelings. But a 50-year-old man or a 50-year-old woman, or for some of you that are younger, hopefully we're controlling our thoughts and our feelings. So mindset is going to drive the consistency. Number two, mindset controls and protects you from the negativity. So there's no shortage of fear, gossip, bad news. Somebody's got a bad story about something that's terrible that's happened in the real estate business. Agents are checking out. You need to watch the other agents, by the way, guys. They're the most negative, right? They all have terrible news about the market. So your mindset and the way that you're approaching this controls and protects you from the negativity. See, I feel grateful. See, I feel great. I'm not, I don't, why have fear? You are controlling your destiny. You never have to worry about if it's getting laid off or if you're going to have a job tomorrow. You will always have a job. So be grateful. A strong mindset is going to create the solutions. Like we were talking about the prospecting, what's really working, what's not really working. It creates the opportunity for you to move your business forward. I said this earlier, it's not harder, it's just different. This isn't harder, it's just different. Next thing I wrote down is, and this is my favorite, your mindset sets the tone for the clients. If you have an optimistic viewpoint and you have that vision that you're going to get that home sold no matter what, that regardless of what's happening in the market, we can get the property sold, you will translate that to the client and they will want to do business with you. If you allow the negativity to penetrate your mind, guess what happens? You start to telegraph the negativity. You may not know that you're doing it, but the clients feel it. And they don't want to do business with people that are downtrodden or that are fearful. They want people that have that can-do attitude. So a strong mindset is how you're going to attract the business to you instead of repelling. And then the last thing is that a strong mindset is what is going to give you long-term success. This is what I know for sure because this really isn't, I don't even consider this to be a downturn. I think Ray, were you in real estate in the 80s? In the 70s, so in the 70s. So now this is in the 80s in Dallas, Fort Worth, where my market was, we lost 50% in value in about a 4-year period of time. And trust me, it wasn't easy to have a strong mindset, but you know what happened? Those of us that were strong, we came out on top and we gained market share and great skills through that time. So when the market got better, oh my gosh, we went from doing really well to unbelievably well. So while this may seem somewhat challenging, just think of what you're learning right now and think of the opportunity that lies ahead. So that strong mindset is going to give you that long-term success. So when a deal starts to get hairy and you have to think through how to keep a deal together, that is great. Your value just went up. So don't look glass half empty. Everything is glass half full. I think Brian just said a minute ago, and I'm going to close out with this. Make sure you're reading the right books, things that are inspirational, great autobiographies, things that are going to make you feel good. Whatever you're listening to, make sure that it is filling your soul. It's not draining your soul. I can't stand to watch the news because I think it's just also stupid because does it really, does it affect me? Yes, in a general sense, what's happening in the world affects me, but only if I let it. Do you think what's happening in Washington, D.C. is really going to have an impact on whether 11 Crystal Mountain is going to sell this week? Do you actually think that there is a direct correlation? No. If Crystal Mountain is priced right, it's going to sell. Right? So just do the work and everything will be okay. Questions? What are your questions or your comments on the topic today before we close out? Anyone? All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about today's, well, we're going to get the recording out to you, but I want you to write down 2 or 3 things that you know that you personally need to work on right now. What are those things that are going to turn this up a notch so that you can be competitive? Is it that you need to work Saturday morning? Do you need to go to the door of those expireds? Do you need to, again, to read inspirational? Do you need to go to church? How about that? Oh, Brian says, how do I prep the evening before? Great question. You know, Brian, I don't personally have to prep a lot because I wake up in the morning feeling really, I always feel great because I look at every day as a challenge and it's going to be a great challenge. But here's what I will say is and all the research leads to this, you need to prioritize your sleep, guys. Prioritize your sleep. Don't stay up until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't go down that social media rabbit hole. Don't watch CNN or whatever it is. The Netflix. We start to fixate on things. Prioritize your sleep. You need 7 hours. Every single one of you needs a minimum of 7 hours. Hopefully, are going to get 8 hours. So that's the very best thing that I would say, Brian, to prepare for the next day. Watch your alcohol consumption, watch what you're putting in your body. And that's how you prepare. So Robert Storage has said, what's your best advice to overcome complacency? So Robert, here's how I coach it and the approach that I take myself is every Monday, I look at where I am in relation. This is, here he comes, Robert. Every Monday morning, look at your numbers and see, are you on track? Are you behind? Where are you in relationship to your goals? And you should, like, let's say you have to take, what's your goal, Robert, for listings this month? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. Okay. So today is the 5th. So let's say next Monday, Robert comes in and he looks and he has not taken any listings. So, and we know that he runs about 70%. So if he needs to take 3 listings, he needs to set 5 appointments. So Robert, how you fight the complacency is you say, I'm aware that I'm behind. It's the self-realization that I'm behind on where I need to be. So this week, no matter what, I have to set 2 appointments and take a listing. And then you build your whole week around that. And so where complacency comes from is we start to look at things in a broader sense. Oh, I've got 3 deals that are closing this month. I don't have to work so hard. You've got to break it down and say, what do I need to do this? Am I where I need to be? And what do I need to do this week to either stay on course or to get back on course? And guys and gals, if you'll do that one thing every Monday, do a check-in with yourself, build your week around that, that is a game changer. Because complacency is just where you're satisfied with where you are. How do you maintain momentum was the next question. Same thing, Brian. If you want to maintain that momentum, you need to just keep hitting the goals and accept the fact that some of the things that we do are monotonous, like talking on the phone all day is monotonous, right? You take enough listings, that can be monotonous. We have to accept the fact that that's just the gig. That's the job. So accept the fact that you have to do the work every single day. And if you're not growing, you're falling behind. And here's one little trick I would say to you. Work hard, everyone, to be on track by the end of the summer. Be 100% on track before we go into September. And here's why. there's not as many work days the last 6 months of the year. There's not as many work days as there are the first 6 months of the year. So by the time you get to September, you're literally losing daylight. You start to lose days that you can work because of the holidays. You've got kids back in school. It's shorter, shorter days. We have distractions. So not being too repetitive, but if you aren't on track coming out of August, it's hard to catch up, isn't it? So how to fight the complacency and to keep that momentum, Robert and Brian, set a goal that at the end of this 90 days, you are 100% on track and work towards that. All right, well, I've kept you guys a lot longer than normal. We appreciate you all so much. Thanks for being on the call today. We'll get the recording out to everyone. You guys are amazing. Work hard, positive attitude. This is great. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again. Bye now.